Since the J-7D is technically 50% off for all PC players until February 5th, I'm gonna rate it for you guys. And before I start, I'm gonna preface this is probably one of the best fighter premiums in the game. First up, we have speed. At 12,000 meters, the J-7D can reach a top speed of 2,419 kilometers per hour. This easily makes it one of the fastest top speed fighters of the game. And on the deck, depending on what map you are on, you can easily get to Mach 1.1. So I can assure you, if you get the J-7D, you won't have any issues with your speed. It's essentially just an upgraded MiG-21 with a better engine and more fuel. Although acceleration wise, it is still kind of lacking. So for speed, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. As for agility, this thing is not the most agile in this BR bracket, especially if you're constantly facing F5 variants. Although that's not the end of the world because you can outmaneuver them if you're smart enough. For any MiG-21 variant, if you just pop out the landing flaps while entering a dogfight, you'll have more maneuverability than you think. If you also pop on your air brake, you can get them to overshoot and you'll be on their 6 when they're running out of energy. And with your upgraded engine, you can take out almost any vehicle in this BR bracket. The only vehicles that are really a threat to you are any of the F5 variants, any other J-7Ds, Delta Wings from Sweden and France, and any A-10 and SU-25 because you will overshoot them. And the perk is for all of those is the fact you can outspeed them, so you don't actually have to dogfight them. So for agility, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. As for offensive armament, you do get access to a 23mm Gish cannon, PL-2 air-to-air missiles, PL-5B air-to-air missiles, and PL-7 air-to-air missiles. The PL-7s and PL-5s are pretty much just equivalents of other missiles in the game currently. The PL-7s are closely related to the Magics from France, and the PL-5s are pretty much just upgraded AM-9Js. Me personally, I don't really like the Gish cannons because they are really slow for this BR bracket. This makes them easy to avoid and hard to aim, but as a perk, they do hit a little hard. As for your missile loadout, you're going to want to run PL-5s or PL-7s or a mix. Notably, these missiles are not all aspect and you have to be rear aspect for them to lock. That being said, they both pull an extreme amount of Gs. This makes them extremely good dogfighting missiles, especially for the Magic 1 variants. If Magic 1s are within about 1 kilometer of the enemy, they're really hard to flare. That being said, both of these missiles are actually quite easy to flare if you're beyond 1 kilometer. Although you do have to note this is 10.7, so you aren't facing strong IRCCM yet, and the best missiles you're facing are either AM-9Ls or R6DMKs. That being said, these missiles still shine at 10.7, so I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 for offense. Moving over to defense, you do get access to 70 countermeasures and a directional RWR. This is really standard in this BR bracket, and there's nothing really stand out about it, but your defense is still better than other premiums in this BR bracket like the F5C or the J35XS. Although notably, when you get up tiered into 11.7, your RWR becomes a pain. There's just too many locks going around for a directional RWR to be useful. That being said, you don't get up tiered very often in this vehicle, so you don't have to worry about that issue very often. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 for defense. Now if you're looking for a really good CAS aircraft, the J-7D is definitely not one of them. You get access to heat rockets, HE rockets, 250 kg bombs, and 500 kg bombs. Although thankfully this aircraft does get access to bomb computers and rocket computers to help you play CAS. Although it's kind of sad because the bombs are tandem drop, meaning you can't target multiple enemies unless they're really close to each other. And then the rockets hit like wet spaghetti noodles. They don't really do too much damage unless you hit a vital component or the enemy is extremely light. Although it is still kind of possible to do well in CAS, it just takes a lot of time and effort. As an added perk, this is 10.3 in ground battles, so you won't have to face top tier SPAA as much. So for CAS ability, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, purely because its computing system is amazing. As for features, it does get CCIP, CCRP, a drag chute, and a search radar, which is kind of standard at 10.7, although it is kind of painful. And also previously covered, it does have a directional RWR. Most of these are pretty much standard for 10.7, nothing really stands out too much, although the computers and the drag chute are nice. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 for features. As for durability, it is a MiG-21, so it can take some shots to the wings, but that's kind of about it. If any of your stabilization gets hit, you're gonna start MiG drifting like crazy. And if you somehow manage to survive a shot, your flight performance is absolutely ruined. So for durability, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. Moving over to difficulty, it's not that hard to understand how to missile sling. The hardest part about this vehicle is just paying attention because your RWR is directional and you don't have any MAW systems yet because this is 10.7. And it does get hard to dogfight in this vehicle because you do have to know when to use your flaps and your air brake, and you also have to know how to use the Gish cannon because it is slow. So with 10 being the easiest and 1 being the hardest, I'm gonna give the J-7D a rating of a 6. As for the fun value, it is extremely fun slinging out high G missiles at anyone you see, and it's extremely fun to dogfight in this thing too because it is somewhat challenging, but it's also somewhat easy at the same exact time. Not to mention playing anti-CAS and ground battles is extremely fun because no one expects you to be dogfighting people. So for the fun value, I am gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. Moving over to its worth value, it is technically 50% off until February 5th for all PC players. And with it being a really good rank 7 premium that can grind out the entire Chinese air tree, this is a solid 10 out of 10 for its value. And this gives the J-7D an overall score of 73 out of 100, which is absolutely monstrous on this grading scale. This gives it an overall rating of a B, and I highly recommend anyone to get the J-7D if they want to ball out with some China air. especially because it's 50% off right now.